Hello, my name is Dan Johnson and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the new War Doctor box set, which is called Cybergene. Now, I haven't really listened to a lot of War Doctor stuff. I listened to the John Hurt run when it was available on BBC Sounds a couple of years ago, and I did enjoy them, but I've not really listened to Jonathan Carley's box sets, as in box sets that are set around him. I listened to him appearing in other things. But I've always quite liked his impersonation of John Hurt. The reason that this set prompted me to buy was the fact that it features the Cybermen. And as they say quite a few times, features all the Cybermen. I mean, it's an incredible cover. The synopsis of this box set is that the War Doctor finds himself in a world ravaged by battle, where soldiers are kept alive through familiar means. The Cybermen are entering the Time War. But how? Why? And what change will they make to the war as a whole? I feel like I need to start this video with a bit of a preamble because there's something going on behind the scenes that I need to talk about with this box set, and that is the fact that the cover art shows every single Cyberman. There are Cybermen in there that have not appeared in many years. I think there's one from like Real Time, there's the one from the Ninth Doctor Adventures, and when they announced the cover art for this one, they were plug in the fact that it had every Cyberman ever, and it was going to be a huge Cyberman epic. I mean, it is a huge Cyberman epic, but it is not to the scale that they're making out it is. Not all of those Cybermen do appear in the episode. I've written a little list. So we have the Mondasian ones, we have the ones from the moon base, we have the ones from the invasion, you know, the ones that can be seen invading near St. Paul's Cathedral, and I believe that the Cybus ones also feature quite a lot. In terms of the Cybermen engaging in the Time War, I think they maybe missell that a little bit, because when I think them in the Time War, I'm thinking of these skirmishes between Daleks and the Time Lords, and the Cybermen show up too, and mostly that sort of stuff is done through dialogue and not necessarily being shown to you. If you can say shown when you're talking about audio. But it comes across as a bit of a missed opportunity. The writer clearly had a story they wanted to tell, and that story was not exactly what it was marketed as. It's one of those slight sort of blurred lines in terms of marketing. So I wanted to get all of that off my chest before I did the review properly. The Cybermen are very good in this story, though. There is lots of different versions that I think are really cool in terms of the imagery that it generates, and also they talk about the idea of them being inevitable and that humanity is always sort of leading towards a more cybertronic existence, and the causes for that to happen is a really interesting thing that they start talking about within the episode. Episodes 1 and 2 explore that the most, and I think they do an excellent job of talking about the Cybermen as they're being my favourite villain. I love that they're given a proper threat, but I do think maybe it's a little bit repetitive, but I don't mind because the framework is so strong. There's also a lot of timey-wimey stuff that I really enjoyed. I think that they are particularly strong at making the narrative last 3 episodes because each one is very distinct, and with each sort of chapter having their own title and being their own story within itself, I wouldn't recommend it, but technically you could listen to just one of the 3 stories. The War Doctor is also excellent. Obviously, I've never really listened to Jonathan Carley's impersonation, and I think it's really good. He just invokes the image of John Hurt, and I can imagine younger John Hurt in these scenarios, so that's all excellent. And I think that how he's written here is very different to how I remember him being when I listened to the John Hurt's episodes many years ago. And I love that he's been given darker material, stuff that the regular Doctors wouldn't do. You know, the way he deals with situations and people is so interesting, and I love that I'm not entirely sure what he's going to do next. And also in terms of the canon, I love that he can kind of have this time of his life that he doesn't look back on very fondly because of the decisions that he's had to make, and those decisions being consequential in his heart over that lifetime. So this is a Doctor taking the brunt of everything, and I found that really engaging because you kind of have that similarity of the Doctor being the Doctor. It's all still there, don't get me wrong, but you have that similarity but also those differences where you're unsure of his reactions. And finally, would I recommend this box set? Now that you've heard my preamble at the start of the video, I think that I am happy to recommend this set, because it is still a really good Cyberman story, but I think that the thing that let it down was something that was out of the control of the actual production of the stories themselves. It's the marketing of it. It is a really great Cyberman story with an excellent Doctor and excellent performances, so I'm definitely going to recommend it. I really loved it. I'm definitely going to be listening to it many, many more times. Believe it or not, this is my last review of 2025. This is my last Big Finish release. I'm hoping that the CD for Cybergene will arrive before I do my end of year video talking about Big Finish, which will probably come out the first week of January. But I have loads of Big Finish reviews from the year that you can check out in the playlist above. I have a big Christmas video that I'm still working on and slightly behind on at the minute that should be coming out on Christmas Eve that you can check out. It's about the Snowmen, the Doctor Who story. I'm basically reviewing it and trying to add in many, many silly jokes. And of course we have The War Between the Land and the Sea, which I'm going to be talking about once it's finished next week. But until next time, thank you very much for watching, and I shall see you soon. Goodbye.